Hello, and thank you again for tuning into Seshat's Wisdom YouTube channel. Today I'm presenting you with an intuitive, prophetic dream that I had. I wish to share that with you. Okay? Now, this felt like a glimpse into a possible future timeline or energetic pattern. And so instead of keeping it to myself, I decided to actually share it with you. So I wanted to start off by setting the scene for this prophetic dream I had. Pretty much, I remember myself being in some kind of facility. It reminded me of a school just because of the walls and how it looked, that basic kind of like cinder block painted over kind of wall, like the institution of a learning facility. That's what it reminded me of, but I'm not sure what exactly the facility was. That is what it reminded me of. And so in this dream, I saw this non-melanated female woman, and she just got up, and there was some kind of closet there. She got up and went to the closet and was vomiting, and then she came back, and then she sat down and she was shivering. And then I noticed the other women who were non-melanated were just looking very sickly. And I just watched them go into that. And they just look very like the sweating and everything. And I went over to them and I was kind of like holding them, kind of consoling them. And one of them looked up at me and said, "Health is the new wealth." All right. In the room, there were different nationalities, different people, but the only ones that were getting sick were mainly non-melanated females. And so in the dream, this isn't a dream, this is my interpretation. The dream just showed something that was coming on these individuals and making them sick. And it's like no one could put their finger on what it is, but it was only happening to people who did not possess male dominance. Melanin, excuse me, not male. I don't know why I said male. Melanin dominant. Okay. And then in the hall, I started seeing people in blue running back and forth. And they were in like this uniform. That's all I remember from this particular dream, which is how I'm interpreting it to you. And so I feel that this could be a timeline of events that could happen. All right. I'm not saying that I know for sure, but just like I mentioned before, this dream felt like a glimpse into a possible future timeline or energetic pattern. And so, with that said, my interpretation of the dream is that there will be some kind of ailment falling on people who are not melanin dominant. And so I just look at certain patterns that I see and find it coincidental. Just noticing that it was an influx at one point of celebrities just adopting melanin dominant children. Now, mind you, I'm going to make something evident here. When I say melanin dominant, it could mean somebody who has darker complexion, or it could mean someone who has lots of melanin in their blood, which means they don't necessarily have a dark complexion or brown complexion. And so you just never know. But what I know for a fact, based on the dream I had and my interpretation of it, is that those who fell ill visually had no melanin. And just to go back to what I was saying, when I just looked at the waking reality I'm in and noticed that some celebrities, it was a time where I just noticed they were just adopting a lot of melanin dominant children from Africa or wherever. And it was almost like a trend. And I'm like, that's interesting, because there are a lot of orphans in other countries, other countries that have children who do not look melanin dominant, right? And so I found it interesting that it was so pressing for them to adopt orphans in Africa. It's almost as if they wanted to ensure some kind of future, not just for the children that needed parents, but for themselves as well. You see, in the dream, amongst other things, it looked like there were transfusions that needed to be done, right? And when I say transfusions, it's like within their system to maintain them. In this prophetic dream I had, I feel like the only cure to what was ailing these people who are not melanin dominant was to have more melanin in their system, i.e., blood. And so when I'm bringing up, for example, these celebrities, I'm wondering if they have some kind of inkling too that in the future they will need access to melanin dominant fluids of some kind of nature, whether it be blood or something like that. And so, of course, if they have children who are melanin dominant, that will ensure their future and ensure that if they need it and they are not melanin dominant, that they can access it because they have kin or they have relatives who for sure will supply them with what they need in order to be cured. All right? Just wondering. And if that's the case, what about people who don't have melanin dominant kin or children who can supply them with that precious resource if they need it? Those people who don't, then that is something interesting to see how that will pan out. Okay, where will they get it from? Okay, will the demand for melanin dominant blood or anything like that be the game changer here? Because then if that's the case, then it puts melanin dominant people, whether it's in their blood or only, or if it's just aesthetically, because usually you can tell if someone's melanin dominant by their skin tone off the bat, but you cannot guarantee that someone who doesn't have a darker complexion doesn't have a lot of melanin in the blood. So I say that because how will the future view those with the most melanin in their blood? They'll be a precious resource, even more so. And the ball will be in their corner. In this timeline, or in this prophetic dream, I perceive that people who are melanin dominant will be very, 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 very highly sought after to donate fluids. But not every fluid is a match, right? And so now it makes me think if there was a strategy in adopting certain children. Because when you adopt, I believe you know everything about the child, or you can get that info, right? And so that's also something to consider. But what about the people who don't have relatives who are melanin dominant? What about the supply? How are they going to get people who are melanin dominant to donate fluids or blood or whatever? Now that's the scary part. Is it money? Is it by force? Who knows, right? Now this again is a perception prophetic dream that I had that I'm sharing, okay? And again, just a possible glimpse of a future timeline or an energetic pattern that should be noted. But I felt like the dream had so many elements that it was necessary for me to share it. I'll never forget what the woman in the dream said. Health is the new wealth. And so when you said wealth, immediately that made me conclude that the people who you believe are the most oppressed will finally be in the driver's seat in that sense. But if there is a certain demand for something that is rare, then that is also alarming because desperation will come into play. Now, when I say rare, it could be anything. It can be a rare blood type, a rare fluid. I don't know. And that's why I say in this dream, I'm not sure what specifically about the melanin dominant person will cure the ailment for those who don't have it. Okay? That's my take. That's my prophecy that feels like a glimpse into a possible future timeline or energetic pattern. Okay? And it's necessary for you to take what you believe is true from this and leave what you don't. All right? And leave what you don't believe. Okay? This is a personal, interpretive, and reflective prophetic dream. And so, yeah, it's up to you to use this information and, again, take what you want to take from it, leave what you don't want to take from it. But one thing I'm not going to do is not share that side of Seshat's wisdom because it's important. Again, health is the new wealth. Take care of yourself and think about what I said. Thank you again for tuning into Seshat's wisdom. This is my prophecy. There are more to come because I dwell heavily into the dream world, aka the real world. Okay? Not just the mirror world. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for allowing me to share Seshat's wisdom. Take care.